Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to Season 7, Episode 34 of the Black Hole Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Miller, the most neutral candidate for president on the ballot, the most transparent candidate as well, and a free market entrepreneur. I'm also possibly the most underground artist in the world. So please purchase some of my art. Could be worth money someday. I'm going to talk about guns on this episode, firearms, because it's a hot button issue. I've touched on it before, but first I want to talk about internet trolls, scammers, specifically celebrity scammers. I have some updates on the celebrity scammers. Meagan Fox reached out to me. Jodie Foster reached out to me on Facebook, and then we transitioned to Telegram, I think, one of the other apps, and she's talking about some kind of reward I qualify for. Cate Blanchet, using her full middle name and everything, reached out to me. She wants to transition to another platform to talk more privately. Facebook isn't private enough for her. Taylor Swift messaged me on her fan page through Facebook, and she offered to give me 3 VIP tickets and $2,000 travel expenses if I gave her my address. I gave her an address, and then she revealed that it would cost $200 in 2 Steam gift cards for the delivery fee for those tickets and that money. So Taylor Swift, if you want to offer me some VIP tickets or travel money, or hey, you could fund the national investigation for $100,000. I'm sure you can afford it. I'll sell you a piece of my art, and then I conduct my investigation. Anyway, Taylor Swift contacted me, tried to scam me, and even Jason Mamao reached out. I haven't pursued that to the fullest extent yet. So these scammers are out there. These scammers are using your name, your celebrity name, and your likeness in many cases to scam people. Disabled, elderly, the feeble-minded, even the unfeeble-minded, young people, veterans, disabled veterans. And it's happening every day, and to my knowledge, you're doing nothing about it. Quit listening to your management. Don't rely on your media company to solve this. Please just reach out to me. I have some ideas of how to address this, how to begin to address this. Every day somebody's getting scammed, so you can contact me through this podcast. You can contact me through my websites, mitchformayor.com, that's Mitch the number 4 mayor.com, plotm.com, amavoter.com, or trafnet.org. In the next episode of this podcast, I'm going to give out a email, and I've given it out before. So, guns. Now, my background is I grew up around firearms, around guns for hunting purposes mainly. Came from a large hunting family. I mostly am familiar with rifles and shotguns used for hunting, but I have fired a pistol a handful of times, not many times. Not enough after 15 years of not being able to possess them that it would amount to me having any type of advantage in a pistol duel. It's been a long time, and I only fired them a handful of times. I'm familiar with them, but firing them maybe 100 rounds, 200 rounds possibly in my history, that's the total. So I talked about the Department of Cannabis, Alcohol, and Nicotine as president, taking firearms out of addictive substances department and putting it in its own. So we have the Department of Cannabis, Alcohol, and Nicotine, addictive substances you ingest. Now, firearms can be a little bit addictive to some. As president, I would create the Department of Firearms, ATVs, rock climbing, and skydiving. FARS, F-A-R-S. These are all recreational activities that can be dangerous. FARS would work on safety for all of these activities. And look, we lump firearms in with ATVs. You can't take away our guns unless you take away our ATVs, and if we have property, land, or permission to go on property, we can own these machines. Guns are machines as well. And it puts it on equal footing. Firing a semi-automatic or an automatic weapon gives you an adrenaline rush, right? Just like skydiving. So they're similar. Skydiving, you jump out of a perfectly good plane to get your adrenaline rush. Some people fire a firearm to get that adrenaline rush. Some people go on stage. Some people do other activities. Adrenaline rush is a good, clean dopamine release. And in America, we don't tend to overregulate the seeking out of these adrenaline rushes unless they're through illicit drugs. But you get the adrenaline rush. So, here's my take on guns, firearms. Guns and automobiles, they both use internal combustion. They're both machines. They both use internal combustion to move an object at a high rate of speed. Both guns and automobiles can be deadly in the wrong hands, but we're not going to outlaw automobiles. We're actually automating automobiles, which I disagree with. But I do believe in common sense rules for firearms and guns. You have to register an automobile for use on public roads. You pay a yearly registration. You register that vehicle. And I believe you should register a gun, a firearm, if you're going to take it on public roads. Right? This makes sense. Now, you can own as many unregistered guns as you want, as long as they are on private property. Say you own enough property to have a firing range, whatever guns you want. If they don't leave the property, they don't have to be registered. But if you're going to be transporting these firearms in a vehicle or however you transport them, they should be registered with a yearly registration fee. But here's the thing, and I've said this before, we have the technology. If you have to pay a tax or a fee or whatever, right? We can prescribe how this revenue is used. Instead of it just going in the coffers of the state and federal politicians to use however they want, which many of us don't agree with, when we roll out a new tax or a new fee, it should be prescribed. Sure, there's going to be a administrative fee for these. That should be paid by the taxpayer. But every cent of these fees collected for registering a gun, this is what I propose. Every dollar you pay gets tracked on your account for your gun registration account. And it goes towards range time at the firing range, or training, firearm safety training, right? You have to pay someone to train you on a firearm. This is a credit. These fees are a credit. We're going to partner with all the ranges in the United States, and you will get credit for range time so that you can use your firearm. You can become familiar with it and become safe with it. You can get training on your firearm, right? Imagine how safe the roads would be if vehicle registration went towards driver training, intensive driver training. We wouldn't need to automate vehicles under the guise that we're going to make the roads safer with automated fully autonomous vehicles because we can't trust humans. If you put the money towards training humans and making them more like professional drivers, you'd have safe roads. But they don't do that. They roll out a fee. It makes sense to people. Oh, yeah, you got to register. And then they take the money and use it however they want. Supposedly for roads. But, who knows who's taking what from what accounts. Let's make this transparent. Let's make it clear. And this is a step. If we ever roll out firearm registration, every dollar goes, you get to keep your money essentially. You're paying $5 a year per gun or whatever it is. But you would pay whatever, I don't know what range prices are, $20 an hour or whatever. So you get X amount of hours back. So every dollar you pay for the registration fee, you get in credit at ranges so that you can be safe on your firearms. And this could apply, maybe you have your own range at home, but you want to do 3D targets in archery. These ranges will allow you to do that. So it can be, we'll work with independent ranges all throughout the country to get you credit if you have to register your firearms, which I think is a common sense rule. And these ranges would be able to track, we'll have a standardized system where they can track how many rounds you fired in each of your pistols, right? And you can opt out of this. You don't have to be tracked. That's not what I'm about. I'm not about tracking everyone, even though I'm pretty much tracked everywhere I go because of this crazy world that the corporate communists built. But you don't have to track your rounds. It's just for if you think you might become involved in non-lethal pistol dueling in the future. You want to be matched up with equal experience. We want this to be fair. So we can track how many rounds you fired through each of your pistols, how many total rounds. And when using the duel.us website, we can match experience with experience. The military can adopt a system of tracking. If military personnel used pistol firearms, handheld pistols, and we can apply this system globally for pistol dueling to end all deadly war on the planet Earth. So this is a first step towards that. Farce the department created with this initiative could even look into building dueling courts, right, where people with compressed air paintball guns could practice their dueling, and we could have an app to track that type of stuff too. Or where there's a target at one end that maybe turns around and points a non-lethal weapon at you. So those are just some ideas I have on guns and firearms. Let's register them if you're taking them out on public roads. If you're taking them out in public. If you own land or you just want it for self-defense in your house and it's never going to leave your house, you don't have to register it. It's the same rules as always. But let's start to take the first step towards common sense here with firearms. Those are my ideas. I know it's not going to be popular with certain individuals, but if we think about it logically, we register vehicles which can kill tens of people, hundreds of people hypothetically, and they're machines that use internal combustion. Why not register our firearms? Thanks for listening, and until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.